The name of the movie is Madeline's. Madeline and Owen are shown in the movie as they work on a scientific experiment in their lab. Suddenly, a fire breaks out, forcing them to escape the building despite the danger. Madeline then goes about her routine, explaining the significance of rules in scientific experiments and emphasizing that the more important the experiment, the more important the rules become. However, she also acknowledges that, on occasion, rules need to be broken. Back in the lab, Madeline and Owen get ready to test their experiment. Despite the confusion, they continue. Madeline asks for an apple, but Owen gives her an orange instead, which causes some annoyance. Owen puts the orange in a glass tube, double-checks the code, and starts the test. The orange disappears, making buzzing and zapping noises. They look for signs of the orange and count down to when it should reappear. They are relieved when the orange successfully rematerializes precisely 1 minute into the future, delighted, since they were earlier worried about computation errors. Later, they celebrate with Rory Devire. Melissa writes a memo emphasizing the success and the need for more analysis. Owen suggests moving on to testing with a mouse, but Rory praises their work and suggests sending the orange to the past. Owen estimates that there should be about 50 tests conducted before using a mouse, and they both look forward to their meeting and the next round of funding arriving soon. When they return to the lab and use a mouse for their experiment, Owen puts it in the glass tube, but it explodes moments later, causing frustration and anger. Madeline notes that the trial was a failure. Later, when Madeline is working alone in the lab, she discovers that the mouse experiment failed because of a mistake in her code. She corrects the error and decides to test the experiment on herself, leaving Owen a voice memo. The next thing she knows, she wakes up outside the lab, where Owen runs to help her back in. He asks how she feels, to which she replies that she feels great, and he verifies that her test results are fine. Madeline acknowledges that she had more wine than normal and that she was upset. Owen reassures her that she proved the experiment. Madeline also confesses that she wanted to experiment without Owen because she didn't want to see another mouse suffer. He highlights the need of recording her complete experience even when she finds it difficult to call specifics. Owen is outside the lab gathering samples when Madeline, who is standing nearby, starts to stare at him strangely. She then rushes toward him and attacks him in self-defense. Madeline praises her for solving their problems and acknowledges her recklessness, stressing the need for rationality going forward. When Owen pushes her, she falls and dies instantly. Panicked, he rushes to her side and realizes she is dead at that very moment. Owen is shocked to see another Madeline come out of the lab. He tells her to head back to the garage and follows her inside. She was startled and perplexed, so she questioned who the person outside was. Owen, similarly confused, confirmed that it was her, and together they attempted to make sense of the situation. Madeline acknowledges that she may have made a mistake in the code and explains that she put in place a loop as a safety measure in case the script hung up. Madeline estimates that the code cycles out to the point of the loop every hour, meaning that 3,600 copies of herself will appear daily. Madeline is horrified to learn that he killed the first duplicate later that night. Owen and Madeline sit down to talk about the situation. Owen begins to apologize, feeling as though he killed her even though it wasn't exactly that. Madeline comforts him, but Owen interrupts, apologizing for what he's about to suggest. He knows that he is going to mention the Novikov principle, which states that two versions of the same person cannot exist in the same place at the same time. Owen suggests that they eliminate the duplicates as soon as they appear, pointing out that since Madeline anticipated his thoughts, the other duplicates likely would too, explaining why the duplicate tried to kill him. First, Owen argues that their only option is to eliminate the duplicates, saying that it's a matter of survival for them. Owen waited for Madeline the following day with a knife, and when the duplicate Madeline arrived, he stabbed her in the throat, killing her. The following day, Owen made the decision to use nitrogen gas to kill the Madeline duplicates that were arriving. He set up a tent over the arrival area, released the gas when each duplicate appeared, causing them to suffocate and die. This became routine for Owen, who then burned the bodies in acid one day. Then, as they sit and talk, Madeline offers a plan. She suggests that when she presses the button, she can go back and stop herself before she goes forward, change the code, and ensure the duplicates never see her. The duplicate shows up already dead, perplexed, so he goes inside and informs the real Madeline about what happened together. They examine the dead duplicate trying to figure out why she appeared already dead, but they cannot figure it out. The situation leaves them both bewildered and concerned about the implications later. Owen replies with a clearly stressed out expression that they've already seriously messed things up and that they should stick to what's working rather than taking any more chances. Owen is getting ready to handle business as usual the following day when the actual Matthew suddenly appears. Alarmed, Owen maintains that she shouldn't be there. Madeline argues that it won't matter if the copy turns up dead. Owen, however, implores her to return inside because it's not a joke. The future Madeline appears gasping as the real Madeline tries to interact with her, but the duplicate rips the tent with a knife and attacks Owen as Madeline tries to help Owen the future. Madeline has an idea, though. What if they try to talk to the duplicate? Owen is skeptical. Just then the alarm rings signaling the arrival of another duplicate. Madeline makes a desperate attempt and overwhelms her. Owen ends the fight by stabbing the future Meline from behind. The following day, Mateline joins Owen as he gets ready for the typical routine, and together they carry out their grim mission of removing the copies in various methods. One day, out of the blue, Rory shows up at their house. He gives them a warm greeting and says he couldn't get in touch with them, so he decided to pay them a personal visit. Meline tries anxiously to strike up a conversation and offer coffee in an effort to delay Rory's arrival. As Meline clumsily tries to sidestep the question, Rory, noticing her uncertainty, demands for an update on their work and insists on viewing the lab. Meline tries to keep the conversation going, moaning that their mouse test failed, and Owen battles her in the background out of sight. They have different ideas about what success looks like. When the future Meline arrived, Owen was ready to act and attempted to stab her, but the future Meline deflected his attack, causing him to accidentally stab the real Meline instead. Later, Owen sat with the future Meline, who already understood the situation and her role in causing the loop. Curious, she asked how many Matlins Owen had spoken to, learning she was number 51. Rory, understanding but impatient, leaves, urging Mateline to keep him informed and convey his message to Owen. Owen stated that two Matlins couldn't cohabit afterward, acknowledging the grim reality of 50 other Melines dead. She felt he was upset by murdering the first replica, especially because they had spent more time together. While Meline was resting, Owen stepped out by himself and went to the lab, where he encountered Meline showed up with a bottle of wine, and Rory Owen showed him the machine. When Owen asked Rory if he wanted to see how it operated, they showed him by inserting an egg into the device, and a little while after that, a chick from the future materialized. At their first press conference, Rory was shocked and thrilled. He talked about how it would make for an incredible demo and said they would make history. When Rory inquired about the amount of time needed to perfect the machine and iron out the kinks, Owen hesitated and warned that it could take months or perhaps years. Though perplexed, Rory insisted that they expedite their job. The future version had become unsettlingly excited about eliminating the daily duplicates, while Owen grew more and more dejected. One day, Owen approached her and said they needed to talk. He began by making a distinction between the original Meline, who had first returned, and the current Meline. He suggested calling the original Meline 1, but she found it offensive because there were so many dead Melines they compromised on. On Dead Meline 1, Owen explained that Dead Meline 1 had suggested going back in time to fix the code before pressing the button. Future M dismissed it as a terrible idea, but Owen insisted it was the only way out of their current situation. Future Mateline, however, was content with their grim routine, emphasizing that her priority the following day. Owen and Melissa went to speak with Rory. As they got closer, Rory stopped Owen from joining the conversation, saying that she didn't want him to. Owen tried to listen from outside, but he was unable to hear anything. After some time, Melissa opened the door, and Owen realized she had told Rory everything. Rory, unexpectedly composed, offered to assist them in getting rid of the bodies. When Owen attempted to use an apple with the machine once more and it failed to move the apple, he furiously unplugged everything and sat in disgust. Owen is currently working on the machine once more. Owen arrived late the following day and was hit by Mateline with a baseball bat from behind. When he woke up, he was strapped to a chair, and Mateline clarified that she was actually number 115 rather than Meline 51. Mateline expressed her frustration, explaining that Owen saw all Matelines as replaceable. She mentioned that Madeline 51 had informed her of his true feelings. As the alarm rang, signaling another mine's arrival, Owen panicked and begged to be freed. Mateline taunted him, revealing that the other Matelines outside were celebrating. Back in the lab, Owen warned her about the potential consequences of their actions, but she dismissed his concerns. She recounted how Matelines operated like a collective organism and how she became their leader after conflicts arose. Despite Owen's confusion and fear, Mateline coldly reassured him that she was still his wife, but their relationship had irreversibly changed. Mateline went out to talk with the other Matelines. While they were conversing, Rory showed up at the door. One of the Matelines answered, and Rory offered her a place to stay if she didn't feel safe. She agreed, but as she was about to leave, an alarm triggered, prompting her to check. Then another Mateline went out to meet Rory and told him she had decided to stay while the first one was held against her will. Later that night, two Matelines saw Mateline 115 dragging a body. The next day, Mateline 115 tried to lift spirits, but others noted that several Matelines were missing. She suggested they stop using numbers to avoid individualism, proposing they think of themselves as one entity. Some Matelines resisted, preferring individuality. Meline sought to be intimate with Owen as others fought for unity, stressing cooperation over rivalry, but when she discovered he believed she was 51, she became enraged. 115 then arrived and killed her. When Matlin 51 realized this, he hurried Owen to Rory's house so that he might be safe. When Owen activated the machine, he found himself in the future rather than the past. A future Meline taunted him about their situation and revealed a note saying he was killing them. Rory suggested that going back in time could correct their mistakes, a suggestion that aligned with Mateline 51's plan to stop the loop by preventing the first mine's actions. Owen expressed doubt because he had failed with a previous attempt using an apple, but Meline 51 showed him the apple, proving it was possible. 115 secretly listened as Owen prepared to travel back. When Owen realized how serious the situation was, he confronted her and, in a desperate attempt to stop her from pushing the button, she stabbed him in retaliation. Meanwhile, 51 traveled back in time and prevented Mateline from touching the button.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.